Donald Trump is preparing to take power. Arrests were made in the death of Liam Paynes. And once again, we'll bring you the latest news from the ancient city of Pompeii. That's some of what we'll get to on the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. It's Friday, November 8th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. Number 1. Donald Trump made his first key appointment after his election victory. Susie Wiles is Trump's campaign advisor. She's led Trump's operation since 2021, back when Trump was widely viewed as a pariah following the riot at the U.S. Capitol by a mob of his supporters. Unlike some advisors, she's rarely battled with Trump, and she's maintained a close rapport. And now that loyalty and her successful campaign has been rewarded. When Trump returns to office in January, Wiles will serve as the White House Chief of Staff. She'll become the first woman to be appointed to that role. Meanwhile, Trump's team is vetting thousands of candidates for other roles and seeking to ensure that they are loyal to the president-elect. Trump advisor Stephen Miller is likely to return to the White House. He played a key role in Trump's immigration policy in his first term. And in other election news, the Post reported last night that Black people in several states received racist text messages following Trump's win. The FBI is investigating. Number 2. President Joe Biden promised a smooth transition of power. Biden spoke from the Rose Garden at the White House yesterday to concede his party's defeat. The mood was pretty dark. Cabinet members exchanged hugs and sober glances while they were escorted to their seats, but they rose for a standing ovation when the president emerged. Biden emphasized that he would direct his government to ensure a smooth handover, and he praised his Vice President Kamala Harris following her election defeat.
I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something that I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent.
This is an awkward position for Biden. He's now forced to welcome and legitimize a man he had condemned. He has said repeatedly that the threat of Trump was the entire reason he ran for president in 2020. But now he's pledging to honor and accept Trump's victory in a way that Trump refused to do after the previous election. Trump's attempts to overturn Biden's victory drove 2 of the 4 criminal cases against Trump. Following his victory, the future of all 4 cases appears uncertain. San Francisco elected Daniel Lurry as mayor. That's number 3. Lurry is heir to the Levi Strauss fortune. He hasn't held office before, and he pitched himself to voters as an outsider. He gambled on the hope that his lack of experience would be more of a boost than a burden for his campaign during an unsettled time for the city. And he also got a boost from his personal fortune. He spent nearly $9 million of his own money and got another $1 million from his mother. And it paid off. After 14 rounds of ranked choice voting, San Francisco Mayor London Breed conceded the election. She's presided over the city during a period of increased homelessness, public drug use, and a downtown business exodus, all of which were supercharged by the pandemic. There are still some things we don't know after Tuesday's elections across the country. Control of the House is still up in the air. Democrats could still win the chamber, but that is looking increasingly unlikely. And we still don't know whether Trump or Harris won the popular vote. It may come down to California, where many votes are yet to be counted. Number 4. The Federal Reserve cut interest rates again. Yesterday, the U.S. Central Bank lowered interest rates by 0.25 percentage point. It reflects a cooling of inflation in recent months. The move should bring some relief to households and businesses who have been straining under elevated rates. The cut will ripple through the stock market, hiring, and mortgages and other kinds of loans. But the economic outlook is cloudy after Trump's election win. Trump has vowed to deport undocumented immigrants, renew expiring tax cuts, and impose massive tariffs on U.S. imports. Some companies that rely on foreign suppliers are preparing to raise prices to offset those plans. Three people were arrested in connection to Liam Paynes' death. That's number 5. Last month, the One Direction star died after falling from the 3rd floor of his hotel in Buenos Aires. An investigation was launched immediately after his death. Reports said that he had pink cocaine in his system at the time. That's a party drug that doesn't typically have cocaine in it, but is a mixture of other substances like ketamine and ecstasy. Yesterday, Argentinian authorities said 3 people had been charged in connection with the death. One person was charged with crimes of abandonment followed by death. 2 others, including a hotel employee, were accused of supplying drugs to Payne. Number 6. Dozens of monkeys are on the loose after escaping a research center. Police in Yemassee, South Carolina, are on the hunt for 43 rhesus monkeys. They broke out of a primate research facility on Wednesday. Authorities have urged residents to keep their doors and windows locked to avoid a surprise monkey encounter, and they said not to interact with a monkey if you see one. Officers are setting traps and using thermal imaging cameras to catch the primates. But the good news from a human and maybe also a monkey perspective is that these monkeys haven't been tested on yet because they're quite small and young. So that means they're not carrying any diseases. And at number 7, the true stories of Pompeii's victims were revealed after nearly 2,000 years. When Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD, a thick layer of ash buried victims and calcified. That preserved the impressions of their bodies for centuries. And since 1863, more than 100 casts have been made by pouring liquid plaster into the voids that victims' bodies once occupied. And there have been some long-standing ideas of what those plaster casts could tell us. There was a family of 4, for example, including a mother holding a child on her hip. The poignant figures were frozen in time and helped humanize an ancient natural disaster. But a provocative new study published yesterday reveals that some interpretations of these scenes are wrong. By analyzing ancient DNA, scientists found that this supposed family of 4 was actually 4 unrelated males. They had recently immigrated from the Eastern Mediterranean or North Africa. It shows how little is still known about the past, even at one of the most well-studied archaeological sites in the world. So well-studied that we seem to tell you about Pompeii about once a month here on The 7. In any case, if you want to see this family of 4, which actually isn't a family of 4, there's a picture in our newsletter today. A link to that is found in our show notes. That's the show for this week. One thing you can help us with this weekend, is it pronounced pecan or pecan? This is an audio team debate, so email your thoughts at the7pod@washingtonpost.com. The assistant producer of The 7 is Taylor White. The staff writers are me and Jamie Ross. John Taylor is our editor. Special thanks to Rennie Svirnovsky and the rest of the Post Reports team for their help during this busy election week. Copy editing by Melissa No and Thomas Haliba. Mixing and sound design is by Jim Briggs and Justin Garish. Our theme music is by Edith Mudge. Renita Jablonski is our director of audio. And thanks, as always, to friend of the show, Christina Quinn, for her extra help. She'll be hosting on Monday while I take a break. I'm Hannah Jewell. Thanks for listening and have a great weekend. Christina and the rest of the crew will meet you back here on Monday.